Retro.
And welcome everybody to another episode of the Animanicast.
Blast that intern. If she's seen you, she knows too much.
Oh, this is all my fault. Remember when you asked if I would rather fly or be invisible, and I said fly? Well, I've been paying for it ever since.
You must think fast, Pinky. Are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I think so, Brain. But what does a steam-powered giraffe even eat?
Welcome everybody once again to another episode of the Animanicast. This is the podcast that is dedicated to the animated television series Animaniacs, as well as other shows that are in the Rugerverse, such as Tiny Toon Adventures, Pinky and the Brain, and Freakazoid. But today we are talking about episode 3 of the Animaniacs Reboot. I had to look at my notes again real quick. Like, are we 1, 2, or what episode is this? Number 3! I am Joey, and joining me once again are my co-hosts, my brother Nathan.
I'm also known as Grilled Cheese Art.
And across the country in Georgia, it's Kelly.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome once again. We're going to be talking about another episode of the Animaniacs Reboot. Very exciting. This one features 3 segments: Gold, Meddlers, Pinko and the Brain, and Math-Terpiece Theater. Apples.
You have a little lisp there.
Math-Terpiece. Well, please don't shame me for my lisp.
Sorry.
Sorry. Gilly?
Sorry. I used to talk like that when I was a kid. I would say PH instead of S's. So my mother sent me to speech class. And
it all started because you said Math-Terpiece Theater. I was watching PBS.
I used to say wabbit too. Like,
oh.
like it started with an art, rabbit. So I did teach myself how to talk, apparently.
Sign that you're watching perhaps too many cartoons. I don't know. Go to wabbit. Well, if someone were to ask you, how would you describe this episode in just a few words? What would you tell them, Nathan?
It's like going to the Olympics in 2020.
Oh, I don't know if that's a good thing. and Kelly, what about you?
It could really have benefited from some John Williams Olympic music.
Ah, yes. No way they could get the rights on that, though. They couldn't even say the word Olympics in this. Because that's
true.
They had to say the Greek Games.
This is not Wonka Willie's playtime. This is the Greek Games.
Which
it's the word Olympics copyrighted.
Yeah. They're. I think they in fact shut down a lot of even educational things that use the word Olympics in them. I think a lot of times they have to use Olympiad or things like that to get around it. But the word Olympics, people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I've heard a few times where you can't use the rings. You can't say the...
Yeah, I think the rings are definitely copyrighted.
Yeah, but the word Olympics... Yeah, copywritten? You can't use the rings, and I think you can't really use the name out of context either. Like for
be safe, they probably just stayed as far away as they could.
Yeah. But you listen to commercials. I mean, this year we couldn't, but next time around the Olympics, listen to commercials, and they'll say
your favorite athlete, and
the only
gold
way
star
gold star world star athlete. Yeah, the only way that you're going to get into the games is with Visa or something.
Well, that's with the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah, you don't even say Super Bowl now.
They can't say. Yeah,
they say
Super
the big game.
Trademarked. Yeah, the big game. If you want to get in the game, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah.
Super Bowl's also trademarked.
So today was the Greek Games.
See how closely I follow sports with that anymore.
We did it was a Greek episode last week, and it seems like they could have almost combined. I feel like Tom Ruger would have maybe combined these two, maybe.
Yeah,
since they're both Greece.
Yeah, I agree that the themes have been pretty weak on this season, at least so far in the ones that we've seen.
There's a Halloween episode which has a theme throughout, of course. Yeah, Halloween.
Yeah, but overall, there's been no consistent, like, oh, these have a nice little connecting theme throughout each one of them, which is...
I mean, the first episode was all about going from the 90s to 2020, I guess.
Yeah, so that one did have a little bit of a theme, so
yeah.
I stand corrected.
There we go. Boom. This is only a third.
So 33% have had a theme.
Well, this episode premiered, of course, on November 20th of 2020. And Nathan, go ahead and hit us with our November 20th trivia.
This is the fan favorite segment. Okay, so in honor of the Olympics, I'm going to tell you about Florida Batson. She was born on November 20th, 1900, so that's our connection. She was an American hurdler and the captain of the United States team at the Women's Olympics in Paris in 1922. But she sprained her left ankle during the practice, and she still won the qualifying heat, but failed to finish the final because she fell over from her.
Oh, poor hurdler.
But still, she was born on this date, and that was an Olympic thing.
There's the connection.
Olympic connection.
There you go. I don't think that'll be in any Jeopardy questions.
It could be, though. If you're ever taken, like, who was the 1922 team captain of...
Wow. Hope we help somebody out someday. Well, let's go ahead and get right into our discussion of today's episode. And we're going to start off with Gold Meddlers.
We're gonna have to become gold meddlers.
Title of the sketch.
Title of the sketch.
And Gold Meddlers was written by Greg White and Wellesley Wild. I'm not going to say Wellesley this time. Wellesley Wild.
You just did.
Damn it. And it's directed by Brett Varon. And Kelly, why don't you tell us what happens here in Gold Meddlers?
Okay, the Warners are camping and they want s'mores, but they don't have any chocolate. But then they realize they're kind of in the middle of the Greek games, and there's this, Hans and Franz sound alike, Nils Niedhart, who is this mega athlete, and he says he's going to win everything, and he throws them out of the stadium. And, of course, that means Warner. And so they come back and they decide to challenge him to individual events. They go against him in the high jump, and which that one ended up being they made him think it was like a limbo dance. So he goes under and then Dot goes over. And then they do, and I'm getting out of order, but they do volleyball and spike him in the head with the ball.
I can't watch.
I can.
They did the discus. Was it discus event? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, discus. When you absolutely positively have to throw a plate.
Yes.
Which I think was, a reference to the FedEx commercials. If it has absolutely positively has to be there overnight.
Well, Wacko goes after it like a dog. I mean, he's like barking and stuff, and catches it like a frisbee and brings it back. And I feel like there's another event or two. But anyway,
ping pong. I think ping pong was in there, right?
Yeah, and then that was Wacko as well, and he ate the ping pongs and then shot them back at Niels. And they kind of would switch places, and so there'd be two in the announcer's booth, and they always got Niels' name wrong, and they mispronounced it incorrectly on purpose.
I see his name is Bill's Beefheart.
A common mistake. Bill's Beefheart was his father. Tragic story there. But this guy's name is Grilled Cheeseheart.
Ahoy!
And then whoever wasn't in the booth was going against them in the games. And so they won every medal, and he kept getting angrier and angrier. And so they have all the medals, and they thought the medals were chocolate covered, like gold foil chocolate or something. And then they realize it's not actually chocolate because they still want the s'mores. And so Niels wants the medals, so they take a truckload of the medals and dump them on him. And he won't relinquish any of them. You know, they say, well, they're too heavy for you. And he ends up being crushed under the medals and falls all the way down to hell.
Nils, the medals, they're too heavy.
Quick, get rid of them!
Never! I'm keeping them forever!
Okay, have it your way.
The end. and there you go. So he goes down to hell or Hades. Although we might say hell because I guess the brain said hell in this episode. So I guess it's free game. I don't know. But he got a reasonably good score, I suppose, when he went to hell. So good for him there. Well, yeah,
the score was 666.
Oh, yeah. See,
it's not that great.
Yeah.
But down there, it's good.
That's going to upset a lot of people.
It's like the top score you could get, I think.
But I can see people getting really upset. That's like, isn't that the sign of the beast or the number?
Yes, it is.
Yes. So.
Well, maybe it could. They found different tablet, and maybe it's just 6 blank 6. So it could be any number in between. Maybe I don't know.
Oh, really?
I mean, I know people that wouldn't let their kids watch Harry Potter. So, putting 666 in the episodes.
That might have turned some people off of the Animaniacs reboot right there.
Maybe.
Well, at any rate, let's go ahead and talk about some of the references that they go over. There's not too many of them. I mean, obviously they're referencing the Greek games, aka the Olympics that we talked about, which were going to be in 2020 when they were originally writing this episode, and of course those got canceled. So, no longer as timely as they would have hoped. At one point, Nils mentions Wonka's Willy's Playhouse, kind of a combination, I suppose, of Pee-wee's Playhouse and Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. The mime from Mime Time is on here. The Moonwalk. Obviously
they mention it.
They mentioned the Moonwalk. Of course, that's the Michael Jackson dance. Then perhaps the most obscure one that we could find was really when they said Burt Reynolds, when Nils kind of does this kind of I don't know how would you he kind of lounges down in midair like he's laying down
out of shirt. I mean he's in a bathing suit, so of course
he's in a bathing suit.
But
Burt Reynolds famously back, I guess this was in the 70s, was on it was in Playgirl, was the centerfold of Playgirl magazine. So yeah, there you go. You can if you really want to see a hairy man laying on a dead animal of some sort. What is that? A tiger or something in the?
Yeah, I guess it always reminds me of George Costanza on Seinfeld. Whenever I see that,
yeah, it's
the first thing I think.
Harry
of.
Burt Reynolds looking so happy. So anyway. Let's see, the Light Cavalry. Nathan, you were putting down here that the Light Cavalry Overture. We got music notes in here. Light Cavalry Overture.
This was from the Wikipedia, which I did hear the Wacko's World, where they mentioned Wacko's World.
Yakko's World does make a thing because Wacko talks about, being basically jealous of, Mr. United States Canada thing that comes up again.
Mm-hmm.
Equestrian, the event where the horse does all the work and the human takes all the credit.
You know a lot about taking all the credit, Mr. Countries of the World song.
The monkey song, however, I did not hear. I'll have to
I didn't hear it either, but
according to the wiki, it's in there.
And that's all stuff for what's their faces? Wait, don't tell me what their names were. Composers.
Steve
and Julie Bernstein.
Yes.
All right.
That's all courtesy of them.
Yeah, they're funny. It helps the episodes.
Bill Nye is sort of making a cameo, or at least a caricature of him is in it. I think they just call him Science Guy or something.
I don't think they say Science Guy. I think. Maybe Scientist. I think they
Scientist. Yeah, so they had a guy who sounded a lot like Bill Nye, but unfortunately it was not Bill Nye. I would have really liked to hear actually Bill Nye do his thing, but it wasn't.
Technically, we're all matter, made of star stuff. That's what's so remarkable.
This is not Ted's talk. Go away, Planet Man.
All right, see you around the cosmos.
That's pretty much it. I mean, there's some interesting stuff, some amusing stuff that goes on in this segment. So let's go and talk about that. Nathan, what were some things that you saw that you thought were funny?
I liked when they're doing their announcements and making funny names for Nils Niedhart. Nils Niedhart. What is it? Niedhart?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I like whenever I hear his name, I always think of Nival Nose Nest, you know. And I keep going like, oh, is there a joke like Nival Nose Nest that? But no, I don't think so.
Yeah,
that would be cool if it was based on something.
I mean, it might be based on something. Even Nival Nose Nest, we didn't know at the time, was based upon Feifel Goes West.
Exactly.
Well, I didn't know that, and I know all the things about Feifel.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, that was like the Ruger boys were apparently came up with that joke of Nival Nose Nest, and Tom Ruger thought it was such a funny name that or words that he put into the last episode of Animaniacs. So there you go. But yeah, I couldn't figure out any kind of funny pun with that name.
And maybe they said it in one of the many jokes about his name, since they say like 6 jokes about his name, so maybe one of them was what it was based off of.
Yeah, maybe. Let's see. Kelly, any parts that you thought were particularly amusing in this one?
I liked that the Nils Niedhart sort of reminded me of Hans and Franz.
But alas, the girly man is a formidable opponent.
That's right, but hear me now and believe me later. We can easily crush girly men like grapes.
That's right, and make a nice dry white wine. Sauvignon girly.
I used to like them as a kid. Liked them a lot. Pump you up, so.
I feel like he was sort of an homage to them. And I thought it was funny. Again, it was already mentioned, but when Wacko got upset, or about Mr. Countries of the World kind of thing.
I like the little throwaway lines. I mean, Wacko says, "Oh, I found myself in Paris," and he shows the picture of himself with himself in Paris, and then has a callback to it later in the episode. There's the Pegasus, of course, was kind of amusing, although it was kind of. I don't know.
I saw it in the trailer. So.
You saw it in the trailer.
I thought they were going to go My Little Pony with it, and they went Pegasus, which I get because the Greek stuff.
Yeah.
But
Although it was a very My Little Pony-ish Pegasus, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was a unicorn.
And the animals it made, I guess it turned people into animals. I think.
Yeah, magically turns them into cute animals.
They reminded me of the Lisa Frank holders.
Yeah.
Other guys, you don't know who Lisa Frank is.
I do. I take
Hello Kitty, right?
No, Lisa Frank. Lisa Frank actually had her factory here in Tucson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
You Nathan, you could see it on the way to the airport. The big rainbow.
I mean, I remember it being a thing. I just I never had Lisa Frank because
the
of
Lisa
the boy.
Frank building used to be this big rainbow-colored factory. It was crazy. It was right on the south side of Tucson by the airport.
Supplies, and I mean, Hot Topic I think still sells some of her stuff.
It's very retro and hip to like the over the top stuff of Lisa Frank. I think still a few things I noticed that I would have changed. Dot in this, it uses the paddle ball, which I'm like, number one, she shouldn't be doing that. That's Yakko's. Mm-hmm. That should have been a Yakko joke.
She learned how in the last 20 years, I guess.
Perhaps. I also did like the. I think Corey Burton was the voice actor who did the announcer. Those were kind of little cute jokes, like ping pong, tennis for the unathletic, or volleyball is for the tall people who can't dribble. Like those were like little cute jokes, but really it was just a collection of just amusing stuff in here. I didn't really find anything in this first cartoon that really made me laugh out loud. There was just a lot of. Okay, that's amusing. And I got to be honest, I really felt this one dragged on way longer than it should have. I just think that some events should have been cut. To be perfectly honest, this one just really, really felt longer than it needed to be.
I do like that they gave him gold medals at the end, because I was feeling bad for him by the end. I'm just like, he's doing well in these things. It's not like he's doing bad at the.
Yeah, he was. It's not like he was kind of a jerk pushing people out of the way.
Yeah, but he's also like good at the sports, so I think that should be rewarded in some sense, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, he wasn't necessarily. That's true. It seems like if usually the Warners,
it's not like he was cheating,
right? Exactly, and usually like the Warners would go after somebody like him if at the beginning of the episode he did throw them.
Yeah. So he did. Not to say he didn't have anything coming to him, but I'm glad that he got some gold medals. If you like Nils, he might make another appearance later this season. So keep an eye out.
Hooray. Well,
Pump you up.
Once again, I am Hans.
Yeah, I am Franz, and we are here to pop you up.
Yes. Well, let's go ahead and get to the next segment right here. This is Pinko and the Brain. And Pinko and the Brain was a story by Jess Latcher and Andrew Barboat, or Bobbert. I gotta figure out how to pronounce those two names. Teleplay was by Kathleen Chen, Brian Polk, and Wellesley Wild, and was directed by Brett Varon and Katie Rice. And Nathan, why don't you tell us what happens here in Pinko and the Brain?
All right, the year is 1953, and Pinky and the Brain are given as a lobbyist gift, I guess, to a Senator Garp. And, obviously they're not going to be there for very long. They trick Garp into playing with a fire truck outside, and then Brain takes on the identity of Senator Garp by getting into a giant mechanical suit that, for some reason, is already in the room.
Yeah, that was a little confusing. There was a lot. Already I'm thinking, wait a minute, was this man the lobbyist? Was he in on this? What's going on?
He must have been. Like the fact that he put the... this mouse can do a switchboard. That's all I can do. Like, yeah, right. No, I think this lobbyist is the real genius.
Apparently.
I don't know.
And then hid this robot suit in
this master plan. Yeah.
Garp's painting. I don't know. Okay.
The idea, though, is Brain's going to blackmail every other senator until he's the last one, and then he can take over the world. So.
Using this suit, I will masquerade as Garp and blackmail every senator with a campaign of lies and deception until I get my way.
But, Brain, you always told me that lying makes hair grow on your palms.
In politics, Pinky, lies are just facts that haven't been repeated enough yet. And if you don't believe that now, you will soon, because lies are just facts that haven't been repeated enough yet.
He starts off by blackmailing this one senator who was picking at their nose, and then he put it on the Lincoln Memorial, I think.
Yeah, I guess. It was a statue of Lincoln, at least.
Yeah, that's what it was. So so that one, he did it. He's blackmailed that guy. And then his assistant, Garp's assistant, I should say, comes up to the Brain. And Brain doesn't know who this woman is, obviously, because he's not actually Garp. But her name is Brie. She's going to be a little bit of an issue, but he doesn't remember her name. He accidentally remembers everyone else's names, because there's a person named Guy, there's a Page, and there's a no name.
Like that Page over there.
Ha! Sorry, my name is Paige, with an I, but I'm still taking it.
Fine, like that no name.
So, funny story.
Silence!
So he still doesn't really remember Brie's name. But Brie finds him talking to Pinky in the room, in the next scene. And she's like, oh my gosh, there's a mouse. Garp is friends with mice. And then he's like, no, that wasn't a mouse. This is my Italian friend.
Aloha!
And there's a whole, Brie saying like, oh, you kind of look like a mouse too, now that I think about it. And Senator Garp, who's actually the Brain, says, no, I hate mice more than anyone else. In fact, if there are any mice, I'm going to find them and get rid of them. So he starts doing a whole mouse hunt and taking out all the senators because he keeps claiming that they're, mice.
Psst, hey, Brain, isn't it true? And correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't we mice?
It's the oldest rule of politics, Pinky. When you're the target, create a bigger target somewhere else. We need a scapegoat.
Oh, a scapegoat! Oh, Brain, can we keep him? I promise to feed him and walk him and do goat noises with him.
In disguise. The first one actually looked a lot like a mouse, which kind of was surprising.
He even locked up a bunch of kids that had kind of like... They kind of reminded me of the kids from Big Nose Noodle Noggin, ears. Yes. I'm sure they were supposed to be Mouseketeers, but this was pre-1955 with the Disney line. So
when was Mouse Ears and Noodle Noggin? What year was that? Like 1940s, right?
Big Ear's Noodle Noggin was, I don't know. I'm going to say
that was
the Big
Einstein, right?
Yeah, I'm going to say they're the Big Ear's Noodle Noggin.
Yeah, I think it makes sense time-wise. So this is
which makes
frozen.
Also zero sense, because in that case they're both not only hosting a TV show, but they're also senators at the same time.
No, he was frozen, I think, at that time, right? Like,
oh sure, that's right.
He froze himself and went. So there's a frozen Brain and Pinky somewhere.
Oh, yes.
They took their time. Well, they're not Time Lords, but they use the TARDIS to.
Right. They hop along with the Warners every now and then.
Exactly. They can go wherever they want. Anywho, I forget where I was at.
They're locking up people.
They're locking up everyone. Oh my gosh, everyone's getting locked up. And in fact, everyone has been locked up. The Brain is now the only one in Congress, but he finds Brie is still around, his Senator Garp's assistant. She's going through some paperwork, and he's like, hey, we still have to deal with her. So he then says that she's a mouse. And because her name is Brie, she must like cheese. And she's from Wisconsin, where it's also a cheese.
Sure, we love cheese, but why wouldn't we? It's melty and delicious. You can have it in a casserole, sprinkle it on your chili. Now, I'm just a simple girl from Wisconsin, but in my opinion, being anti-cheese is downright anti-American. What do y'all think?
Wait, you can't question my loyalty. My chief of staff will vouch for me.
Bonjour.
And Pinky's like, yes, you're American Brain. I mean, Garp. And then Pinky actually confesses that they're both mice. So Brain shoots off into the ceiling and crashes into the Washington Monument. And that's how it ends.
The end. There was some little references in here. I mean, obviously this is referencing a lot of the Red Scare from the 1950s, where instead of the McCarthy hearings, I guess we have the Garp hearings, perhaps. Lockheed Martin, of course, is Lockheed Martin.
I shall make her a "you're doing a great job, Brie" cake.
Make it a devil's food cake, Pinky. Because I am going to put her through hell.
Let's see. We got the word hell being mentioned by Brain, which I think the folks in the wiki said that this is the second time that this has happened, because technically he kind of said it in the Pinky and the Brain Halloween special. Although it's more like hello, right? Or what did he say? Help?
Help. I can't remember.
I think he was in the middle of saying help, but it got cut off to hell. In the Pinky the Brain special. So sort of, he's kind of. But I thought one of the coolest things was just when he gets in the human suit. Again, that Steve and Julie Bernstein, they put in that wonderful kind of mechanical music that you hear first in like Win Big when he moves those little gears. Which that was a nice little nostalgic touch for fans, I think. They also referenced journalist Edward R. Murrow, who had a signature catch line of "good night and good luck." And I think in this he says something like "good fight and die good" or something like that.
Till tomorrow, night and night good.
Something along those lines. So, that was around, again, the McCarthy hearing. There was actually a movie about this in 2005, "Good Night and Good Luck," that deals with the McCarthy hearings and Edward R. Murrow reporting on this stuff. So there you go. At any rate, directed by George Clooney, which I've never seen, but that is according to Wikipedia. Any moments in this, though, that you thought were amusing, funny, etc.? Let's go to Kelly.
I liked that they brought the big suit back.
Yes, I agree.
I thought Brain looked funny with the glasses.
Although he's
100 times for his head.
Yeah, I did like that line of how you look really pale and your head is smaller. Your head is a lot smaller. That Brie was a lot. It was a nice, I guess, adversary for the Brain in this. Although it was very weird after this is the 1950s. Go get me some ham and mayonnaise or something like that instead of this coffee. That she proceeded to, every time she had to think about something, she would dip her finger into mayonnaise and put it into her mouth, which was...
That was gross, because I hate mayonnaise, and I definitely wouldn't eat mayonnaise by itself. I never eat mayonnaise. If somebody gives me something at a fast food restaurant with mayonnaise on it, I cannot eat it. I can't even scrape it off because it's still there.
Yep, you can't get rid of that stuff.
Apparently it was big in the 50s. I don't know. Ham and mayonnaise? I think
just the joke that it's, unhealthy stuff is... in the 50s. It's kind of a joke you would see like in the Brady Bunch movie, like yeah.
They didn't show smoking, which is good, but that would have also been.
That's true. It's in a way like they should. I wish they could have shown that, but I understand why they.
But
couldn't.
I'm glad also they did, because it's a children's thing. You don't want smoking thing.
Yeah. Nathan, what about you? Any moments that you thought were particularly amusing in this one?
Yes, I liked when Pinky was watching the TV and he was saying the purple guy was in love with the red guy.
Oh, I'm having a good time too, Brain. I'm binge watching this new show. The purple one's in love with the yellow one, but the green one keeps getting in the way. It's so dramatic.
Which, now that I think about it, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. This is 1953 and they have color television.
Well, he's a senator. He's got state of the art. He's already got state-of-the-art mechanical suits in his office. He's going to have colored TVs in there, too. I mean,
sure.
That's the thing that 1953, they also didn't have mechanical suits in there, too. I like the whole no-name thing. It was kind of a fun little something, I guess.
Well, it was definitely there were moments. I mean, Pinky, I think the moments that stood up for me were just the general, just when a Pinky would say something and brain responding, like just little, I would call them chemistry moments between the two.
Truth is just lies that haven't been repeated enough. Is that what?
Yes, that's one that's was amusing. Which I've actually have heard.
It's true
on the news actually a few times when they're dealing with politics these days. So it was nice to see that kind of mirrored in this cartoon. When I was like, oh yeah, I've heard some people say that, some reporters say that a few times, dealing with some stuff now these days. Well, at any rate, let's go ahead and wrap things up with the last segment, unless anybody has anything to say more about Pinko and the Brain. No? Okay. Well, let's go ahead and wrap things up with our last segment here, Math-Terpiece Theater, Apples. And Math-Terpiece Theater, Apples, was written by Jess Latcher, and it was directed by Adriel Garcia. And in this one, this is a dramatic math lesson. Dot, of course, is opening her math book, and she reads out the tale of betrayal involving a poverty-stricken woman who had 5 apples, but lost 3. Right? No, she had lost 3.
Lost 2.
Lost 2. And then how many apples does she have? So then it goes into this big thing showing this woman like running through the streets of England, being chased by a constable, and she gets this dramatic monologue like, I'll always fight, yada, yada, yada. And now she has 2 apples. No, 3
3 apples. You're terrible at math.
I'm bad at Math-Terpiece Theater. Well, and then it goes into, like, on the next time we'll be doing a train going to collide with another train. Train A is leaving 40 miles per hour at this time, yeah.
Train A, traveling 40 miles per hour, left the station at 2:45. Heaven help us!
That was that. I kind of rushed through that and didn't really pay that much attention to it because, quite frankly, I didn't find it funny at all. I thought this one was... Quite frankly, when we were originally going over the episode descriptions and it talked about Dot with a math lesson, I, for some reason, thought this was going to be another math song. And my expectations were definitely not met with this one because I didn't really see anything really funny. I thought this was, I guess, at most mildly amusing. I thought the animation style was changing, was different, and that was interesting. It looked, I will say, for all the segments in this, the animation looked a lot more fluid, just in general, than it did in the first 2 episodes that we've seen. So that was nice that the animation looked fluid and flowed nicely, but it certainly wasn't really funny. I was just like, okay. That was pretty much my reaction. But what did you guys think about it? I don't care about me. What about you? Let's start with you, Nathan. What do you think?
Kind of reminded me of Les Mis when she's running away because she stole some apples to feed her family or something,
That didn't happen in Les Mis.
Well, he stole a loaf of bread, right? Or something. Is that what it was?
Yes.
Or am I thinking of Aladdin? Reminds me of Aladdin.
Stolen in both.
Yeah.
Street rat.
And he also stole apples in Aladdin. So it reminds me of Aladdin.
A lot of stealing of bread and apples. Yeah. Let's just watch Les Miserables. I think that would be a better spend of our time.
Run.
And I also wanted to hear the rest of the math thing at the train A, leaving at 2:45, going 40 miles an hour. And I was like, yeah, and then it just ended. And I was like, I would kind of want to figure out. They didn't really do
the rest of the. I guess they couldn't because. But that, I don't know.
They didn't need to give us an answer. They could have given us a question.
The question, what will happen?
Yeah.
They just kind of, that's true. They kind of left half the joke laying there. Like, that's not the joke. The joke is the other one is coming towards you, not that it's just a train is moving.
All it is a train A leaving at 2:45, traveling 40 miles an hour. So it's like, maybe you say, what time does it reach its destination? That's
but why would the guy be freaking out?
Away. I don't know. I was upset they didn't finish the question. I was just like, I'm like, this is funny. It's almost funny. Just give me the question because then I can do math in my head and it's fun. Math is fun.
Nathan, it was a math
piece of paper and do math.
What did you minor in again?
Math.
Yeah, of course you think math is funny, Mister. I minored in math. Jeez. Wow. Kelly, anything in this one that you thought was amusing? Anything that wasn't mentioned?
I just watching it with the math problem and stuff. It reminded me of when I was a kid. My brother was really into the show called Square One.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
They had like these little segments in the show, and they had MathNet at the end of it, which was kind of like a dragnet, and they had people investigating things, and I just kind of reminded me of that.
I do. I remember Square One. They had, I think, a lot of actors that were just comedians / improvisers or something like that, and it was a funny show. It was one of my favorite shows actually growing up. I usually didn't understand any of the math concepts they were talking about, but there was some amusing skits that they did. So, yeah, if it reminded you of something funny, then I guess that's good.
Yeah, at least I understood the math in this because, I'm an English major, so it's like, oh, okay, I know how many apples she has left.
Yes. I don't know if I'd be able to do the train one, but definitely the apples one. I got that one. Well, let's go ahead and get to our water tower rating. What do you guys think? Out of 5, I can't even say the word 5. What out of 5 water towers? How many?
Good at math.
I know. How many water towers would you give this episode? Nathan, let's start with you.
All right. So based on the first episode being 3 water towers, I'm going to give this one 2.5 water towers. I think I like the first one a little bit more than this one. First one had a song. Or 2 songs, actually. And this one didn't have any songs. Pink in the Brain was funny. The Olympic one is fine, I guess. I don't have anything real bad to say about it. But I think I just like the first episode and the second episode more. So 2.5 for this one.
All right. And Kelly, what about you?
This one has been my least favorite so far. So I think my previous scores were 5 and 4.
Yeah.
So I guess I will give it a 3.
Okay. And I have to agree, this is my least favorite of the ones that we've seen so far. And I think so far my lowest has been 2.5 for the first episode, right?
Yep.
I'm tempted to give this one a 1.5, but I'm going to be generous and I'm going to give it a 2. Because there were moments in this that I thought were amusing. Did I ever laugh out loud verbally? No. Do I think that the first one with the Olympics should have been cut drastically? Yes. It just didn't make me laugh, and it does. But at least the characters felt more like genuine
Warners.
to their. Yeah, at least they felt more in character. I will say that. Mm-hmm. But the segments themselves just weren't funny. Like that Math-Terpiece Theater was a complete waste of my time. I couldn't care.
You didn't learn anything. You don't even remember.
I don't even remember the numbers. I don't know.
5 minus 2. You didn't even know what that was.
Oh, man. And they're written right in front of me. But that shows just how disconnected I was from this. By the time I got to that last one, I was just like, oh, man. I was really hoping for something to kind of like pick it up. Like a song would have been perfect to like, okay, let's get the energy boosted up. But instead, it just kind of peters out to like, bleh. Just nothing really funny. Amusing stuff, sure. But funny, maybe for some people, not for me. Well, so there we go. Hopefully they don't get any lower than this one for me, but we shall see. Well, let's go ahead. I think we should get to some contact information. Nathan, where can people reach you online?
Oh, Joey, I'm on Twitter. Django FT, that's me.
And Kelly, what about you?
Also on Twitter, Yoda Princess, YODAPRNCSS, or email me, Kelly@BigShinyRobot.com.
All right, and as for the Animanicast, we're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And, of course, you can head on over to Animanicast.com, or you can see our Retro Zap archives of all of our episodes. We're a proud member of the Retro Zap Podcast Network, and if you would like to talk to us and other Retro Zap podcasters and writers, then head on over to our Discord channel. You can get a welcome link by going to discord.animanicast.com, and that way you can talk to any of us, including all the other folks at Retro Zap, so you can talk about anything pop culture that you want in a very positive place, which is very rare these days, I think. Well, that'll do it for today's episode. So for Nathan and Kelly, this is Joey saying good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds are registered trademarks and or copyrights of their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animanicast unless otherwise indicated.
You win this time, Gump! But I'll have the last laugh. Ha! 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 Dang it!